All right, hello. Welcome to Black Widow Garage. This is my first time doing anything of this sort, so bear with me. Never done any, YouTube content creation, anything like that. So this is going to be the first time I'm ever doing anything like this, and so welcome. My name is Daniel Cow, and behind me, this is my 1990 Audi Coupe Quattro. And today we're going to just start by going through this repair that we have in front of me. This is a CSF radiator, and basically the backstory is last week I was driving to Cars and Coffee when my radiator exploded as I was literally pulling into the spot, and as you can see from this photo, we're going to need a new radiator. So I've been thinking about the CSF upgrade for a while, and we're going to put it to the test to see how it does. The previous owner had just replaced this radiator in 2021, and it exploded. So part of it is I don't know what brand this old radiator is, and with the plastic end tanks, these are a common failure point. So we're going to remedy this with an aluminum radiator, and we're going to go from there, because I also think that there's more to the story, because radiators just don't blow up. And so actually what was happening that day as I was driving to Cars and Coffee, I did notice the warning chime for the temperature, the coolant temperature did go off about 2 minutes before I got to Cars and Coffee. And digging a little deeper, I think we may have some electrical gremlins to deal with the cooling fan and things like that. So we're going to go through and get that sorted as well. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so looking at the engine bay, here we can see the carnage that happened with the radiator. So definitely that's not fun. I've already started disconnecting some of these hoses, and looking at the fan, here's what I think is very interesting, because if we dig out the fan connector down here, what you'll notice is that connector doesn't look great. So there's a possibility that this connector, this whole wire, I'm going to replace. And then coming down and looking here in the fuse box, we see that fuse number 5 does not look great. As you can see, we're seeing some of the melty fuses again. So we might as well do this right and see what we can do about this fuse box, because I believe the socket is also a little melty, so we're going to deal with that too. So first step is to get the radiator out and the cooling fans. So let's jack the car up and get going on this. All right, let's dive into the electrical system. So last year, when I bought this car and drove it cross country all the way home, one of the things that I noticed inspecting this car and the fuses in Dallas at my cousin's house was that the fuse for the radiator fan was looking a little melty. So melty usually means that there's a bad connection, there's a high resistance causing high temperature, melting the plastic in the fuse box. Not a good thing. So we're going to see if we can do anything about that. All right, so we now have the radiator out. We're still waiting on some radiator hoses and some other new parts before I put the radiator back in. However, we're gonna start looking at some of the wiring, because part of the reason why the fan wasn't running, as if we look at this connector here. Yeah, so we're gonna get a new connector. We're waiting on this. This part is, oddly enough, extremely hard to find. So we're gonna do that. And actually, looking at this wiring, someone has been in here before. So I have the wiring diagram here, and what we're looking at is this circuit right here. So the red and black wire comes down from the fuse to the fan, and then there is a red and blue wire that comes from another circuit over a resistor into the fan, and then brown is ground. So this circuit right here is the high-speed fan relay, and then this is the low-speed one. So what we're working with, if we look here, this is a brown wire. It's been cut. Someone's been in here before, and they actually wired up the ground to go up from here up to this point here. So we're gonna clean that up as well, because it looks a little rusty. If it'll focus, it looks a little rusty, so we'll work on that. And then we're gonna redo these, because online people are saying that the factory harness is a little short, so a lot of people actually extend these. It looks like that's what's happened here, but it looks like there's two connections, one of these kinds of crimp clamps, crimp splice, and then another one of these solder ones. So we're gonna figure out what we want to do with this brown. I might just run this brown to ground because I don't like wires dangling around, and so we're gonna deal with that. The other thing is this fuse box. So if we look at socket number 5 right there, you can see that it's pretty melted out. So probably one of the reasons why my 30 amp fuse was melting was likely because the fuse was not making a good connection with the socket. So the little arcing log of resistance creates heat and creates melting sockets. So I'm going to replace this entire fuse panel with a new one, and we're gonna hope that solves our melting issues. So luckily, the folks over at 2 Bennett have a new old stock fuse panel. So we are going to get this connected. Luckily, the back is just a bunch of connectors, and then the front are your relays and fuses. So we're gonna get this assembled up, and yeah. With the new fuse panel installed, I did some work off camera to rewire the radiator fan and clean up the engine bay. I installed a fusible link to ground, which is just an 80 amp fuse to protect the fan circuit in case the fan ever seizes up, as many people who have worked on these cars have recommended. I also spliced in a thicker gauge wire and made sure all the wire for the radiator fan is 100% rock solid. That said, we're now on to the main event, the new CSF aluminum radiator. This thing should perform well in terms of keeping our temperatures low and hopefully not suffer the same problem as the radiators with the plastic end tanks should anything happen similar in the future. None of this is sponsored in any way, but I've been a happy customer of SCP Euro and their lifetime replacement guarantee. With some new hoses to throw into the mix, I got the radiator and hoses installed and coolant refilled and fully bled. Well, that just about wraps it up for this video. We got the coolant refilled, took it out for a test drive. Everything seems to be working properly. To summarize, the radiator exploded probably because the car overheated and there was too much pressure in the cooling system. And the car probably overheated because the radiator fan was not operating correctly. So I know conventional wisdom is that generally you replace the thermostat if the car overheats, but I just did that last year, and I hope that I'm willing to bet that that's still good. So thanks for watching this episode if you made it this far, and we'll see you in the next one if there ever is one. Peace.